Well, good morning, everybody. Marilyn Wilson here from RETechnology. Excited to have you with us on this Friday. We've got some really exciting news that we want to share with you today, and a great way to take any of you that are now getting expert at the whole idea of virtual open houses. We've got a great way to really leverage all that work. So we've got Kristi Kennelly from Realtor.com with us today, and Richard McDonald from Matterport. Welcome, guys. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
And just before we get started, just wanted to remind everybody, if you haven't been on this before, on the control panel, there's a little bar that says questions. If you click on that little gray triangle on there, it opens it up, and then you can ask our panelists or guests any questions that you want, or myself, anybody, okay? And wanted to say, oh, look, we've got Andrew with us. Hey, Andrew, great to see you. And Tim Heckerman, who is our most loyal participant within these programs. I'm excited to have you again. And unfortunately, we were laughing about it. We cannot get Kristi's camera to work for some reason today. We were just laughing that maybe it's because she's having a bad hair day, and our computer knows that. But she's with us, and she's gonna be talking to us, so no worries about that, right, Kristi? We're okay.
Yeah, no, maybe that's the $1 million idea, an app that fixes your hair. Because what Zoom does to your hair with those virtual backgrounds, it's not right.
It's not just not right. I'm with you on that.
Right.
Good morning, Frederick. Good morning, Jerry. Nice to see you guys. Okay, so I'm going to just show you what all of us look like. Kristi's hair is beautiful, don't you think, in that picture? Isn't it perfect? Mine probably not so much, but Andrew laughs about the bad hair day. And we've got Richard today, who's going to talk to us about how Matterport's working with Dennis. Shaw says Richard's hair looks great, and nice shades too.
Face for radio.
It's Friday. Everybody's a little crazy. It's okay. So we've got some really big news today about live stream open houses that Realtor.com is just launching, and wanted all you guys to see this because it's a great way to take the work you're doing at the local level and make it a national opportunity for lead gen and listing exposure. So I think let me just throw this first slide up, and Kristi, maybe just talk to us a little bit about this whole program. How did it get started, and what's it all about?
Yeah, sure thing. So Realtor.com hears you, basically. MLSs have been asking for this, consumers have been asking, associations have been asking, and live stream open house is very much how it sounds. We will display live stream open house information on Realtor.com's listing detail pages. So the consumer sees this, they're able to save it. And what's really cool is the consumer will get reminders. So Realtor.com will take care of the eyeballs on the virtual open house and even the reminders to come visit that live stream open house.
Oh, that's cool. So you can say save my spot, and then it'll push it to you when it's about to go live?
Yes, that's the idea. And so probably people are already thinking that's cool, but how do I execute on that? So the platforms we are currently supporting include Zoom, Google Meet or Hangouts, WebEx, BlueJeans, Zoho Meeting, and Join Me. So some oldies, but some goodies to a certain degree, right?
Yeah, that's great.
But it is almost exactly how it sounds. You will have the ability to go live to show an open house. And I think, Marilyn, you and I are going to try and give some best practices, because people's brains are already probably spinning with, how do I execute on that effectively, efficiently, safely? How do I not trip on a carpet? All of that good stuff.
Right. And so the save my spot, is that so that's kind of limited to whatever system you're using? So the system will let you put a bunch of people on that at once, I assume, right?
It's likely platform specific, but I believe most of these platforms are able to handle a number of people, number of guests.
Yeah, it's so cool too, because if you think about we've Andrew, who's on the call today, and I have been on the huddle, the Realtor.com Thursday Facebook Live events. We've talked to a lot of brokers who have business that comes in. If you're in Florida, for example, you might have people coming in from Ohio or New York State, or even we've heard that there are people that are in New York or just will go to Charleston, they'll go to Florida, they'll go to California, anywhere. They just want to get out of New York, right? So having this type of open house is letting people all over the country understand the kinds of opportunities that are available, right? It's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. It solves a lot of problems. I mean, it's so interesting, the innovation and creativity that has come out of the last 3 weeks in response to COVID-19. I think this type of presentation will not be the only way we do business going forward, certainly not that, but I do think consumers will come to expect this type of option, which is awesome if you're out of town from another state, but even if you're from across town and you're working and you're busy, and we've come to learn that we can do a lot of communication through virtual meetings and save a lot of time.
Yeah, and even for the agent that normally would have showed 5 or 10 properties, right? If you go through these virtual open houses, you might limit it down to just 1 or 2 homes, right? That you can use these as a way to narrow down going to a regular open house or getting a private tour of the home, private showing. It's pretty neat.
I agree, and it's very much the way Matterport has operated for so long, that it helps qualify who's really interested in that property.
Exactly. So let's go to the next slide. So yeah, let's start talking about, all right, this is a really cool idea. Most agents don't consider themselves videographers. That's not where they've grown up. So let's talk a little bit about what's the right way to do these kinds of things so that you really can engage people as much as you possibly can with a live stream.
Sure, you got it. I mean, we're all learning in the last 6 days. This just launched last weekend, and I'm already seeing incredible creativity from some agents. But I've tried to put together some general best practices, and then we'll get into some specific ideas with what I've seen, and then I think with what Richard's going to propose with Matterport. So it's all really exciting. There's no one way to do this. A lot of it comes down to preferences, but we're going to toss around some ideas to get everybody kind of thinking creatively today. So practicing is number one. However you decide you want to do this, you want to run through it. This is the time to use family, friends, practice on your own home, and just sort of get a feel for what this might actually feel like in real life, IRL, right? Plan your route. You might want to start outside the home, for example, but what route makes the most sense? And then think about this idea of warming up your audience by sharing digital marketing pieces, the pieces you would have had on the counter at a regular open house. If you have those in digital format, you can share your screen in many of these platforms and warm up the audience with some neighborhood information, market information, school information, whatever information, again, that you would have handed to somebody. Well, let's warm up the audience with those same pieces in this environment. And then, of course, holding your device as steady as you can, locking in your elbows to the sides of your body. If you can, you want to become a human tripod, or use some kind of stabilizer. And it's so interesting. My husband has jerry-rigged a variety of tripods for me. Anything that will help you stabilize your phone will make a significant difference. Unfortunately, I was going to show you a couple examples, but bottom line, hold your hand steady, and you don't need something as fancy as a gimbal, but that certainly helps. Just a tripod, shorten up the sticks and walk around with the tripod if you have to. You'll go from feeling like you're in a Blair Witch remake to feeling like, almost a Steadicam experience, almost. And it is a big difference on the consumer side, on the viewer side. So those are a few. Maybe we go to the next slide. I can get even a little more particular. So if you're ready for this, I've got a fairly creative approach that I learned from an agent just this week, with how she's, and now again, it's not like you can say people have had huge experience doing this, but the creativity is pretty amazing. So the idea here is to have a second camera operator while you guide the tour. So hang in there with me on this. A team member maybe, or a spouse, or in some cases, in some parts of the country, it might need to be the seller that does the camera work. You focus on the guided tour, being the host on whichever platform. In this case, I'm just going to mention Zoom. So let's say we're using Zoom. You sit there as the guided tour host, giving the digital assets, right? Talking about property details. And then you're able to story tell as the second operator walks through the home. You're able to monitor the chat and take live questions. What you'll do is mute all the lines and the video for the tour, so it's just you and the camera operator on the screen, and that's the example you're seeing in this picture. You're the host, and someone else is going to work the camera, and the second camera operator is either the only other one on the screen with you, or that person shares their screen. And I feel like I talked a lot about what this is, but Marilyn, if we go to the next slide, it might be best to just show what it is that I'm talking about here. So I did this just yesterday.
Yeah, so we're going to try this. We don't know what these, as many people are using all these systems right now, we don't know if the video is going to work. We know it's going to work, but whether you guys will be able to hear it in real time. So give us a shot, and if not, we have a link that we'll share with you as well, so you can see it even if it doesn't work right now. Okay, but let's give it a shot, and fingers crossed that it works. So here we go.
Fingers crossed. Now the second camera operator focuses on, well, the camera. The idea is you voice the tour, focusing on what everyone is seeing. You can offer listing details, relevant stories about properties or rooms. You are the guide, while the camera operator simply shoots and listens with headphones. So that's it. So it's a really creative approach, just simply acknowledging that maybe doing it all by yourself can be overwhelming. Now you can flip this scenario. You, as the realtor, you could give the tour, and then you could have a team member or an assistant kind of be at mission control, filtering questions to you so that you're not bombarded with chat and questions and trying to work your phone and not trip going up the stairs. You know what I mean? I mean, it's asking a lot of somebody to do that all by themselves while walking. And I think what Richard's going to talk about is a potential solution for, well, I've got something where you don't have to walk at all, because we want to keep everybody safe and avoid what would feel like a chaotic experience. So those are just a couple of ideas. And Marilyn, behind me in that picture, in case anyone's wondering, I put a virtually staged photo behind me using Zoom. You can use Zoom for their standard beach setting or whatever, but you can actually add whatever photo you want. So you can add a virtually staged photo. If you can't virtually stage a home right now, or excuse me, physically stage a home, you can do some virtual staging and make that your background, which is a nice way to kick off a live stream open house. But anyway, those were some general tips and a really specific example of how to use. The realtor that gave me this tip, her name is Gail Musa. In one case, she used her daughter as her second camera operator, and the daughter loved it.
You know, we've in our family, my daughter's a dancer, and we've filmed a lot of videos over the years, and I would highly recommend that you have a backup plan with someone else with you. And even for things like coffee chats today, to be watching questions and talking to you guys and talking to our guests all at the same time, it is a lot, especially if you haven't, done a lot of this stuff. So it is great if you, and especially if someone is watching, so someone says, oh, that pantry looks really interesting, can you open the door and walk in, right? Those kinds of things, so you know where to go on the camera, can be very, very helpful. And back to your point about the gimbal, everybody probably doesn't even know what that word meant. I never did till we had one, but there's pretty inexpensive stabilizers you can add to your iPhone now, that it has this sort of flow. When you look at a camera angle, how it does it in a more controlled way. We as tendency, if we're live, is we might move too quickly around a room, for example, and then people are like, whoa, what was that, right? Especially if there's some lag because you're using Zoom or any of these other systems. But the gimbal helps to keep it really steady, and then your hand just can sort of naturally do it. And they're not real cheap, but they can be like $100 or less now. They're getting less and less expensive. So that just makes it easier for you to not have to remember, like you say, to put your elbows down and to do all that stuff. Because sometimes you get excited, and especially as a realtor, we're used to pointing things and saying, "Look at how neat that is," right? You forget, and you might not hold your hands that way. Back to the practice thing too, and then we've learned this again the hard way from shooting video. One of the things that's great to practice is to walk through, but also to look at the lighting, right, Kristi? Sometimes a room might get too dark. So you have to make sure all the light, even if it's daytime, turn on all the lights so that you can see every corner of the room. Have you seen any examples of that so far?
Yeah, great point, to turn on every light in the room, absolutely. And just be aware of backlighting. You don't want to have the camera hang on. So backlighting would be getting too close to that really hot window in the kitchen, hot meaning it's hot with light. Yeah, but be mindful certainly of that. And if someone else is guiding, that person can guide the camera operator to move on. And I really like your point about moving slowly. My husband helped me with that example, and it was moving really quickly at first. I said, "Oh, you have got to slow way down." And yes, any kind of stabilizer helps you with that, no doubt.
And then there's tons of videos on YouTube about how to shoot film. Like, it doesn't matter if it's live or not, like just best practices like that of things to do to make images look better. Jerry mentioned, he said, in these trying times of COVID-19, wouldn't it make more sense to ask the seller, if living in the home, to film the tour instead of us so as to avoid being infected? Again,
so that is definitely an option. If that is the need in your local market, then this option could work really well with the seller working the camera. Absolutely. That's kind of the idea, is this can get as safe as it needs to get.
And you could still do the same thing because of the way these technologies work. If you know the home, if you've listed it, you probably know the home well. They could be walking around and you could still be selling, "Oh my God, look at that Great Wolf stove that's right there," or, "Oh, that, let's go in and show you what that backyard looks like. It's so light and beautiful," or whatever, right? You could still do your sort of overlay narration, even if you're not physically holding the camera.
Totally agree. What's required is just a little rehearsal, and I'm a rehearsal fiend. So you just want to work through that with the seller, no doubt, before you go live.
Exactly. So yeah, I think this is really exciting. And I mean, I can tell you, and not that we want to get too numbery here, but one thing just to remind ourselves, Realtor.com's traffic is ridiculously high, right? There's people from all over the world regularly looking on Realtor.com for properties. And I gotta believe, and we don't even know this yet because it's so new, but I would bet that if you have a combination on a listing of a great photos with a great virtual tour, with a great 3D virtual tour, blended with a virtual open house, I gotta believe the engagement and traffic and exposure of that listing is going to be a lot higher than regular ones, wouldn't you think, Kristi?
I would assume so. We don't have those numbers yet, but if you want to go to the next slide, Marilyn, it kind of segues nicely into this idea of a lot of helpful visual aids. So Realtor.com recently enhanced the badges for both 3D tour and virtual tours on Realtor.com listings. Before, they were really tiny little buttons. And just in the last few weeks, they have now made these badges very big, very obvious for consumers to find these video experiences. And so this might make for a nice segue for Richard to start talking about Matterport and 3D tours, but that's what it looks like if you have added a 3D tour or a virtual tour. And a virtual tour on Realtor.com can be any type of video. It could be you going through the house and editing it with iMovie. I mean, it can be any type of video. It just needs to be hosted on YouTube or Vimeo or someplace. And then the 3D tour, well, this is Matterport, and this is where Richard's going to have a lot of expertise, but that's what those two badges look like, and the two experiences are different. But to your point, incredibly helpful and immersive.
Yeah, and then having that new open house that's so obvious now, where that, to go look for that. And I know the system's catching up in real time. There may be times when you could actually search just for virtual open houses or live stream open houses, or who knows, right? This can get better and better over time now that it's this concept's been introduced. And On a couple of other coffee chats, people have been worried that even though the agent on the call said that's an awesome idea, they were worried about the fact that, well, does a consumer really want to do a virtual open house? And I can tell you, and Andrew, jump in if you want to make any comments, because I know he's listening too. We've heard from a lot of top producing agents and brokers around the country that these things really are working. It's not just for our own health and our own, feeling like we're doing something. The consumers really are interested in these things, are watching them, and there are people actually transacting business without someone actually having walked through the home, which is, to your point, Kristi, I think we're game changing here, and we're probably never going to go back to exactly the way we did it before, which could be a very positive thing for all of us, I think.
Yeah, I think when we're on the other side of this pandemic, we will have changed a bit. I don't think we will completely go to this sort of virtual experience, but I do think consumers will expect options because we have lived through this, and they'll expect some options for whatever reason, convenience, safety. But yeah, we will come out of this tech savvier. And we will be using tools that are time savers for everybody.
Yeah, I think that's the exciting. I think at first we were just thinking we were losing something in the industry. I think that the truth is we're actually gaining something now, because we are giving ourselves and our clients more options, which is terrific. And if it pushes more people to do virtual tours and 3D tours, and we've had virtual tours around and 3D tours for many, many years now. And frankly, the numbers that I've seen were relatively small in terms of the number of listings that included those types of tools. And let's hope that every agent, certainly everyone on the call, I know is very proactive. That's why they're here. But if we see more and more people doing this, it just makes the customer experience that much better. And it makes the ability for engagement on, your own agent website plus national platforms like this to be even better. So I'm excited to see where we go. Okay, so let's jump over. We've got Richard McDonald with us. Thanks, Richard, for being here today.
Thank you.
Why don't you tell us more about 3D tours, what they do, how they work, and how people can work with Matterport and include them on their Realtor.com listings?
Look, 3D tours have always been a great idea, and most of the data we have at this point is actually pre-COVID. So if you look at the pre-COVID situation that we're in, sellers were getting an average of 5% higher on the sales price, which is definitely an advantage at any point, but their homes were selling 31% less time, which equates to 10 to 12 days, depending on the market. That was pre-COVID. We're in a very unique environment right now, where sellers, for the first time in history, can't just throw pictures on MLS and hope that if it's priced right, the buyers will come to them. Those days are gone, and it might be quite some time before that returns. Sellers actually really care what your strategy is as a listing agent to get their home sold. Mr. Seller, if I hand this over to you, how are you going to get this done? And we know straight out with a fully immersive tour that consumers get a 90-degree angle into the property, to the point where Matterport is so much more nowadays than just a 3D dollhouse walkthrough, but it will also create dimensionally accurate floor plans. And a lot of people don't know that it will take unlimited HD pictures, stills. So as you walk through the tour, you can hit the camera button. Anything that you see, it'll take a high definition picture, can be uploaded to a zip file and straight into MLS. So it's more like a platform than it is just a service. But there are definitely different models, and Kristi just explained that. If you're in a position to have your seller help you out, if you're in a position to walk through with your iPhone, that's great, but that's not always the case. If I'm shooting, $1 million home and I show up with an iPhone, my seller might begin to wonder, where that 6% is really going. When you walk in with a Matterport and you can step through a fully immersive tour, it absolutely captivates the individual. No one has ever walked through a Matterport tour and said, no, I don't want that done for my home. But the clients that we've worked with some of our largest anchor partners like JP and Associates in Texas, we just did a listing for the James Sharp team. Their home went under contract in 48 hours with an all-cash offer. People who are putting Matterports on are getting hundreds of unique visitors within the first 5 to 7 days. We're approved now by the federal government to do what we call digital appraisals. So at the time that the Matterport is being shot, it not only creates the tour that you're all familiar with, but that can transmit to one of our appraisal partners, and that can come back as a fully approved for Ginny, Freddie, and Fanny within a couple of hours, which can cut down 9 to 10 days, on the settlement time. We also create automatically for you a couple of MP4 videos that are incredibly valuable in a social media environment where you can only get like 7 to 10 seconds, of video time. We also do virtual staging. So it's a multifaceted process, not just the walkthrough, but I'll tell you, if you do a fully immersive tour on an iPad or an iPhone or a PC and you walk that into the home at a listing appointment, you will be very difficult to compete against if the next person doesn't have that, because you'll have the data from the last one of these that you did. Mr. Seller, I got 373 unique visitors and this home went under contract in 12 days. Next agent doesn't have that, it's over.
So can you repeat those first numbers you said again? Because those are pretty incredible.
Sure.
And I want everyone to make sure they heard those.
Marilyn, prior to COVID, where we've got, a lot of history, tours or houses with a Matterport tour attached sell on average for 5% more.
Wow.
Well, what that does is, the Matterport allows, it's almost the equivalent of somebody being physically present, even though they're not. So people can write contracts sight unseen all the time because they can walk through the entire house. Now, the other part of it is selling a home in less time. So on average, homes with a Matterport tour attached sell for 31% less. And that's a Texas Tech study that we got commissioned in the last 6 months. We also did one of our own about 4 to 5 months ago. But if you talk to any seller, the things they care about the most is getting full value for their home or even more, and they care about how long it takes. But you combine that with the optics of a fully immersive tour, and you're really giving yourself a huge advantage because, we talk about the platforms that Realtor.com has for the exposure, but connecting that into actually connecting with real buyers who are going to walk through your home and write right on the home. That's really a winning combination right there between these two companies.
Well, and so let's go. So review. So we have a live stream open house. We can have a regular virtual tour, which, by the way, check with your local MLSs because a lot of them offer something that's either very, very inexpensive or free. Then we can do a 3D tour, which gets a whole different level of immersive experience. Then this also allows you to include a floor plan, which is something else that's really important if I can't physically walk through the home. And even if I can, it's still really important. Then this idea of a digital appraisal, which is another part of who's essential and who isn't, and who can get in the house and who can't. That you just took another piece of concern off the table. This is really, it's pretty cool. And then virtual staging, whenever that comes around. Like, I don't know why every agent wouldn't do all of these things now, because it just gives you more of a chance, whether it be on your own website or on a national platform like this, to get more engagement, right?
Marilyn, the market's changed. I've got a condo in Northern Virginia and the market was so hot, it really didn't matter. Pictures, no pictures, tour, no tour. The home's probably going to sell. We're not in that boat anymore. You got to look in the rear view mirror for those kinds of days. We're in a position now where we have to be able to get our property seen from a platform like Realtor.com, but connected into the final result of a fully immersive tour, so that buyer truly feels like they've actually walked through the home. They've smelt the grass in the backyard, they've walked out the front, looked down the street. And when they get that fully immersive feeling, that's when they're prepared to go right on a house that they've never seen.
So we have a couple of comments. This came from Dennis, and he said, he was talking about the live virtual open houses plus the 3D tour. Is the great thing about both of these things is you only have to clean the house once, which is so true, right?
So true.
And then TZ asked a question. Maybe you can give us a little more detail. Tell us how that digital appraisal thing works in a little bit more detail.
Yeah, so we have a digital appraisal partner called Clear Capital. We're still ramping this program up, but when the Matterport camera shoots, it shoots laser, it renders through something called Cortex AI that gives you that beautiful mesh, and it uses machine learning. So we have like millions of these models shot, but it becomes smarter and smarter and smarter. We've been working with the federal government for about 1.5 years to be fully authorized through Fannie, Freddie, and Ginny. Now, if anybody's interested in talking about digital appraisal from a lender perspective, or if their company, would be able to work with this, feel free to message me offline. I'll be able to connect you into the appropriate product manager. But it's been approved because of the accuracy, dimensional accuracy, walking through a model that lenders are prepared to, actually lend against this appraisal.
Tony asked a question: are all of these servers on a sort of a menu plan, or is it a package? When you buy a Matterport, does all of it come with it?
So I'll just give you a quick example. With the basic shoot that you would get shot by a professional, automatically what comes with that is the 3D walkthrough that you're all familiar with. You get the 2-dimensional HD photos, as many as you want. The floor plans are an additional $15 on demand. You don't have to get them, but you can get them every time. The videos are included as well. The digital appraisal will be an add-on charge. The virtual staging will be an add-on. We have various partners that we work with that have, millions of different virtual staging options. And then for enterprise, we do something called scan services, which is really an Acuity link that would go into the intranet of a very large company, which we've done that for like JP and others. And then we also do platform API to get data. But if you're just an agent sitting here, the things that you really care about the most would be a world-class 3D walkthrough that gives you the photographs as well. So you don't have to have somebody come in a second time. You've got your photos and you also get the videos. That's the real core of it. The rest of it would be add-on options or enterprise.
And Jerry asked, is this 3D tour included in the Realtor.com program, or is it a separate charge?
3D from Matterport is a Matterport program, but it automatically syndicates to Realtor.com.
Gotcha. So no matter how I shoot it. So let me ask you one other question too, because right now a lot of people are trying new things. They may not be able to afford a Matterport camera or the time to learn how to do it themselves.
Right.
Are there people that can help them around the country?
Yeah, there are. We've got thousands of independent contractors that shoot Matterport every day. In fact, last month we shot 130,000 Matterports in 22 days around the world.
Gotcha.
So these folks can be reached matterport.com/contact, and then you would go through to the menu options and find, select a professional, fill out your information, and then the company will connect you in with somebody locally who's authorized to do that. Let me just give you guys a pro tip though. You want to go on Matterport beforehand and sign up to a Matterport account for $9.95 per month. So that professional can send you the finished product and then you control your content. You can control how many pictures you add. You can control the syndication, the storage indefinitely. If you have an independent contractor who owns your content, who knows what, they can do whatever they want with it. You want to retain your content.
Perfect. And for those that want to grab that link to find out where to find a 3D Pro, if you open up the chat, again, click on that little gray triangle on the word that says chat, and you'll see matterport.com/contact-us, find a 3D Pro. So you can grab that right there. And we'll put these links also in the note that we send to all of you that are attending today, so you can find it easily as well. So we can do it both ways. Okay, so So let's talk about a couple of other things that Realtor's done for you and that RETechnology's done for you. Kristi, maybe talk about this really interesting page about virtual selling that you guys have put together.
Sure. Realtor.com has reacted quickly with providing training videos, blog posts, all with regard to how to navigate this time. So if you visit industry.realtor.com/virtual selling, you should see a full video that explains live stream open houses and your action items, which are basically to see if your MLS is participating and what you need to do right now to get rolling with live stream open houses. But it's just an incredible site full of webinar opportunities. And as I said, blogs and videos to train you on how to navigate with social distancing and still sell. So I guess hence the virtual selling. So it's a good one to bookmark.
Yeah, and the huddle that's you see there on a couple of different screens, Andrew Dorn and I co-host that, and we have so much fun with that because there's been just I think some of the most inspiring realtors I've ever met, whether they be brokers, top producers, that they not only talk about ways, the tactical ways about how they're doing well in this time, but they also give you some real inspiration about, hey, it's going to be okay, and the kind of the right mindset to have to succeed, not only now but ever. And some of our coffee chats are featured there. Some videos from like Danny Blaine, for example. If you haven't met her or haven't seen her, definitely check out some of her stuff. She's one of the most inspiring people I've ever seen. So lots of really good stuff here. I would highly recommend that you check this out. And I hope that this keeps going after COVID, because there's some really good stuff here. It's a really good resource for all of us.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
And so I wanted to let all of us know next week we've got Jed Carlson, who's the CEO of AdWorks, a great social media platform to help you really demonstrate success, not only in Facebook but in many other social media channels. And Jed's awesome. He's going to talk to us about digital strategies for success. And then we also have on Tuesday, we have Michael Bervina coming in from Planetar, or a company called iGuide, who does some interesting 3D types of tours and things as well, and floor plans and all kinds of good stuff. So we have lots of different people to continue to help you. We're going to be, we've got another couple of weeks worth of content already lined up for you guys. So keep with us, because there's some really good stuff coming. And then finally, wanted to, actually, two more things. We have we got so much going on. You guys could just be with us all day long if you wanted to. On next Tuesday, we at 11 o'clock Pacific, 2 o'clock Eastern, we have a really cool new company called Rental Beast that's going to talk to us all about the ways to tap into the rental market in a really simple way. You know, if for whatever reason your regular real estate business is slowing down, rentals is always a good go-to. If you remember back in the 2008, 9, 10 timeframe, there were a lot of agents, frankly, that made it through because they had a rental business in addition to residential sales. So we're going to talk about that. And even if you are doing well, it's always great to have incremental opportunities. So tune in on that one. You'll be getting some emails from us on that shortly. And then finally, wanted to remind all of you to subscribe to the RETechnology Inc. INC YouTube channel. And if you hit subscribe and then push that little the blue or the little bell right next to subscribe, you'll get notified every time there's a coffee chat recording that comes out. So if any of you want to binge watch coffee chats, if you're tired of the 1,400 shows you've already watched on Netflix, here's a way to go with that. And for any of you that do not yet have a subscription to RETechnology.com, we're offering up a free 3-month subscription on that, so you can have access to all this great stuff. Go to RETechnology.com, click on the button right underneath the search that says Create Account, type in one of those discount codes below, and you'll be able to get free access as well. So everybody's trying to help you guys as much as we can with, you know, new sources of data and education, because we know that there's a lot to be done in the next few weeks to get yourself through this. Let me see if there's anybody else that has any questions. Oh, here's a good question. Can the videos be used for the virtual open house, the 3D videos? I think it's kind of two different things on Realtor, correct? There's a live version and then also the 3D tour, so you do two separate things?
That is my understanding. Now, is there an ability to combine the two? Let's see if that can be figured out. I think that would make for an incredible experience. Can you pull in the Matterport through the platform that you're using, whether that's Zoom or Google Hangouts? I mean, so that's where the creativity comes into play, when you get familiar with what it is you have to work with.
Exactly. And if any of you would like us to subscribe you to all of the upcoming coffee chats, I know many of you have, you can drop your email in here, and I'm going to also put my email in if you want to email it to me. We're happy to register you for all of them so you don't miss out on all of these great little talks, because every day we've got someone that comes in with some great tips. I thank you so much for Kristi and Richard for giving us, I think, some really tactical ways to take advantage of this whole new idea of live streaming open houses. It's really, really helpful. And I think we had one more. That's just people bringing in their email addresses. Okay, so with that, let's see. Oh, Frederick had a comment. Matterport provides an MPS that can be put into the virtual tour link. What's an MPS, Frederick? Is that like an MP, like a video? Do you mean?
MP4.
MP4. Okay, it came in as MP dollar. I'm like, they are dollars. That makes sense. But All right, well, thanks everybody for attending. I hope everybody has a wonderful weekend. Hope that you can take advantage of some of these great virtual open house ideas sooner than later. It's live right now. Oh, one thing I did want to remind everybody too, that the right way to get this virtual open house into Realtor.com is through your MLS, correct, Kristi?
Correct. This is through your MLS versus through your Realtor.com dashboard. So check in with your MLS and about the data fields available to you.
Right, so they make it super easy. And if, just a quick aside on that, if you haven't checked back with your MLS lately about this topic, many of them are moving very, very quickly to replace what used to say open house with virtual open house. So you can click that when you're setting up a listing, or even when you can edit a listing that you already have in the system. And many of them are allowing you to do this type of work now. So if you haven't checked in the last couple of days, I know everything in this world is like every couple of hours things change, right? But check in with them. And if for whatever reason they have not done it yet, you might want to remind them that I know many of the MLS technology providers, the system providers like Matrix and others, have built this functionality. So if they haven't yet gotten to it, you might want to ask them too, because it can be really helpful to have national exposure for people to see you walking around the house. So thanks everybody. Have a great weekend. Hope that everybody, is still safe, is still healthy. We're praying for all of you. And we will see you on Monday. Thank you so much. And thanks again to Kristi and to Richard. That was really helpful.
Thank you, Marilyn.
See you later, everybody.